How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting, and welcome to the kicking off, you could say. A little earlier than I expected. Watanagashi usually is the kickoff point, but right before the Watanagashi this time, we asked the wrong questions about Satoshi. And, yeah, it's not going well. We learned that Shion and Satoshi used to be close, which is pretty cool. That was an interesting bit of tidbit in lore I found very fascinating. And we also got this whole kind of like the return of the dogmatic Rena, who's not a fan of lies and who is obsessed with the curse. And like someone pointed out, I felt like it kind of went without saying, but someone pointed out in the comments and saying like, oh yeah, like Rena totally saw through the lie that like we were going to pick up a book with Mion and so going to have a conversation with her. So like that's absolutely going to like rile her up. But Rena's going to have a nice, pleasant face on herself until she could call us out in another lie, which will follow the pattern of what we saw before. So yeah, really interested to see how this is going to pan out, because it's looking a bit spicy. Yeah, it always sucks when it gets to this stuff. Like, it's good. It makes the stories really good. But I hate that, like, the crestfallen. I genuinely enjoy the slice of life goofy stories. Like, they're a bit over the top. They're a bit ridiculous. But it's still fun. It makes me feel good. The curse stuff doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel sad. So, I'm saying goodbye to the happy times, and we're going right back into the horror. So, I don't know. Let's just go for it.
Ohayo, Keiichi.
Hey.
あら、ゆうべは何時に寝たの?
I did not sleep well last night. At all. My mother could tell from a single glance. I had the worst dreams. Nightmares, very ominous dreams, one after the other, again and again. I woke up after each one, but could never ever remember a fraction of what they had been about. Probably reliving the horror of the first two chapters. But it was like those dreams were predicting something unpleasant. And I woke up in a terrible mood. Hey now, every day has been calm and fun before today, right? These days should continue on unchanging. And yet, anxiety was the only emotion growing within me. Why was that? Nightmares reflected your own anxiety. They showed an uneasy mind that which you wouldn't admit to normally. If that's 100% true, then I must have a much more stable, balanced mind than I expect. Because I don't feel like I have nightmares very often, if at all, really. But I will counter that. I've always had very, very vivid dreams. However, I've also had a pretty good sense of dreams whilst in the dreams. And usually if I'm dreaming and it goes a direction that's very unpleasant, I become more aware that it's a dream, and I just change it. So, people talk about having lucid dreams. True lucid dreams are pretty fun. You're basically a superhero. You can just do whatever you want, and it's really, really fun. I have those about once or twice a year. But I have what I call semi-lucid dreams, which is where the dreams are really intense. They're vivid. Like in my dreams, I can feel things. I can have a sense of temperature. Everything's in full color. The sound effects and everything, it feels so vibrant. It can be actually kind of like scary, not in the sense that it's like anything scary about it, except for the fact that it feels so real. It can be a little unnerving. But for some reason, I've always maintained a strong presence in my own mind there. And so 90% of the time, when a dream starts going south, and I really don't like how uncomfortable it makes me feel, I can just focus my way into changing it. And I just kind of morphs into another dream, or I force myself to wake up. So I'd say I don't have nightmares. However, now upon contemplation, I think the reality is that I have nightmares, but as soon as they start, I can kind of eject out of them. And so I have nightmares, but I can control them. So I don't really get tormented by them too often. Heck, I'm trying to think of the last nightmare I had. I've had a few dreams that'll like end abruptly. Like the most common would be something like suddenly like driving off of a cliff. I'll always wake up from those, but like the horror moment is just so short and abrupt, which is me waking myself up. The one I can remember is a dream where I was at my house, and then suddenly I look outside a window, and I see somebody outside. They have a weapon, and I know instinctively that they're trying to hurt me and my family. And so then the nightmare was me running through the house, locking all the doors and windows, because if I could beat them to all the entries in the home, I could keep them out. And the horror was like that panicked sensation of running through the house, locking everything down. I don't think the dream continued on much longer than that. I'm guessing that it took a turn and kept being a nightmare, and thus I like left it. But that's the one I remember having the most negative feelings about, and I probably stayed in the dream because at the time I felt like I had a solution to the problem. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky in that regard though. I love dreaming, but I feel like my dreams often don't control me. I control them. Anyway, yesterday, I remembered the ominous conversation about Satoshi I had with Shion, Mion, and Rena. Right. My mind felt like it was in a black fog, but we had talked about that. If I'd lived every day without causing a fuss, my reward would be even more peaceful days. I understood that, so why did I feel such discord? Why did I cause such discord? But now that I thought about it calmly, a simple verbal slip on my part couldn't possibly change the world. Yeah. As long as I'm sorry for doing it and never talk about it again, there's nothing I can do that anyone can blame me for, right? Besides, how would my fate possibly change just because I talked about that? So many flags. Nothing was gonna change. Yeah, nothing would change. This sounds a lot like, this sounds a lot like Chapter 1 version of Keiichi. The constant denial, the unwillingness to accept the reality because of how unpleasant it was. Nothing would change, nothing would change. Hahaha.
気持ち悪い笑い。
Oh no.
寝ぼけてるなら顔を洗ってらっしゃい。
I finally cheered up enough to smile, and Mom slapped me right back down. Now I was irritated again. There wasn't much time left before I had to meet up with Rena. I frantically started to get ready to go to school.
いってらっしゃい。車に気をつけるのよ。
気をつけるほど車もいないよ。Hinamizawaには。
I dashed out the front door. The morning air was far more refreshing than the water on my face. That's right, Keiichi Maribara. If you're sorry enough about it to reflect upon your mistakes, that's enough. Now let's pull yourself together and go to school. And return to the fun, enjoyable days. Where everyone laughs, plays, and just has a good time. That'll be nice to Satoko as an apology, too. Yeah. Wasn't I supposed to be her Nini until Satoshi got back?
Ohayo, Keiichi-kun.
Rana, too, looked nothing like she had yesterday when she'd said that weird stuff. If I could only forget, then I could still act like nothing had happened. So I called out to her with all the energy I could muster.
Oh, ohayo, Rena. 相変わらず早いな。
Okay. All seems good.
Ohayo.
Did we see Mion, or was it just us?
おはようございます。
There was a little time before the same old morning homeroom began. But Satoko and Rika-chan were unusually absent. Maybe they went to play somewhere? However, looking over and seeing none of their things, so it looked like they really hadn't come to school.
あれれ、あの二人が遅刻なんて珍しいね。
Oh no. Rena seemed to be enjoying herself, thinking about what their excuse for being late would be. Oh, there's Mion. Mion said something nonsensical as well, imagining how funny the reason they were late must have been. I had only come to school to see their energetic faces, since I figured it would get rid of these feelings I had. But the load off my chest remained where it was. It wasn't very pleasant at all.
おはようございます、皆さん。委員長、号令。起立。
Our teacher finally arrived. Then finally I heard the pitter-patter of footsteps running down the hall. Clatter. Rika-chan was the first to run through the open door. And then Satoko. Didn't come.
遅刻ですよ、フルデさん。北条さんはどうしましたか？
It was unusual for Rika-chan to be late, but equally unusual for Satoko, a ball of energy, to be absent at all. Everyone's eyes were wide at a series of strange events.
さとこはちょっと遅れるかもしれないのです。
Okay.
熱でも出ちゃいましたか？
The teacher walked over to Rika-chan and they started talking in hushed tones.
リカちゃんが遅刻でサトコが欠席なんて珍しいこともあるもんだよ。
そうだね。だけど、さとこちゃんどうしたんだろう。
If it actually is Satoshi came back, I'm going to lose my mind. Because it's like, Oh man, it probably is, isn't it? Because the game really painted a picture that he was like vanished away, right? Like we always assumed. But if he actually shows back up again, oh my gosh.
風かな?
Why now, when I most want to see Satoko's energetic face? The unease that had been building since last night tightened within my chest.
ケイちゃんは心配しすぎ。年頃の女の子にはね、どうしても体の都合で具合が悪くなっちゃう時があるの。
I doubt it's that simple, but sure, we'll go with the false hope. Okay, stop being creepy about it. It's just normal.
みーちゃん、それ男の子の前で言うことじゃないよ。
I mean, it's not like we can't get it, but when they're as young as Keiichi, like, I get it. Mion laughed indecently. Normally, I'd be laughing along with her, but right now, I just didn't feel like it. Homeroom ended, and we went to talk to Rika-chan in the short time we had before first period started.
よう、リカちゃん。遅刻して怒られて、かわいそうだな。今日は俺がなでなでしてあげよう。
I was very aware of my gloom this morning, so I strove to keep my tone cheerful. I petted Rika-chan's head the same way I always did, but she didn't cheer up at all.
みー。
サトコはどうしたんだ？風邪か？
For instance, she got a fever from playing around too much yesterday. If that had been her response, I would have accepted it in a flash. But the atmosphere around Rika-chan felt somehow heavy. It was a little weird, and actually made my unease worse.
ほらほらほら、男の子には話せない事情ってのもあるんだから。ケイちゃんはお席へ戻って。
Mion, acting like a club president, pulled me back to my chair. Rika-chan's gaze immediately fell back to her desk as she hung her head gloomily. Oh, jeez. What did happen? Rika-chan had said something odd, that Satoko might be a little late. They were living together, weren't they? Then she would have known for sure. She wouldn't have said might. Didn't understand why she was absent. That made me all the more anxious. Dang it, what's going on today? It's like we started off on the wrong foot and it wasn't going to get any better.
どうしたのかな、ケイチ君。
I wanna know! Tell me what happened!
今日はなんだか朝から元気ないよ。
Rena noticed how I looked and whispered to me that when the teacher wasn't looking.
そんなに俺元気ないか？
うん。見てるレナまで元気がなくなるくらいに。
I thought of jokingly saying then don't look at me, but I didn't even feel like doing that.
レナに話せること？どんな悩みかわからないけど、聞いて力になれることなら聞くよ。
Oh, don't trust her. Well, like, to trust her, but don't tell her, like, the real reason. Just ask, but talk about Satoko. I won't tease you. Rena said this, looking me straight in the eye.
昨日まで何も変なことなんか起きなくて楽しかったんだ。
Huh? Rena's eyes widened for a moment, not understanding what I meant, but then she remained silent and listened.
穏やかで楽しくて、毎日が賑やかで、そんな毎日が繰り返されることに何の不安もなかった。
うん、そうだね。毎日楽しいよ。きっと今日も楽しくなる。
絶対にそうなるって自信が持てるか？
Rena, feeling perplexed, couldn't think of something to say. I didn't blame her. What I was trying to say seemed a little confusing even to me.
思えば、ここ最近不安だったんだ。毎日が楽しいからこそ、ある日ふっと、電球が切れるみたいに突然。
God, that's such an actual, like, man, that's actually like, isn't that like the definition of growing up? It's like you're a kid and you're young and you're even when you're older than Keiichi, it's like things are fun, it's okay, like even the stresses of daily life are kind of evaporate really quickly, so it's never that bad, but then you just have that sinking feeling as you get older. It's like, what if one day though, it all comes crashing down? Or even like when, you know, the reality gets a little shattered when you become an adult and you start having to, you know, pay for the bills and, you know, figure out how to get the food you need and trying to, you know, go to school or get training so you can have a job that isn't going to like leave you destitute and, you know, constantly kind of in that whole rat race, and you watch your friends and how they struggle sometimes, and your family and how just even if you have a really, really good family, like there's still darkness or frustrations or fears or pain there. and you just kind of like slowly have that, like the reality of life kind of coil back, and you have to deal with more and more of the just the harshness of it all, and that feeling of foreboding. But the funny thing is that having gone to the other side of that and being where I am now, you know, I've still got a long ways to go, but like at the same time, I do know that I'm a lot happier, more stable, and more kind of optimistic about the future than I ever was when I was young, when it's easy to just kind of dismiss it all. The dismissing of that, of the darkness, of those feelings that Keiichi's experiencing, granted his is far darker, but the idea being the same, it's easy to ignore it, but it's not like it's not there. When you're younger, you can kind of just pass it off because a lot of it's not your responsibility. It's when your responsibility steps up, that's when you kind of have to confront it. But I found that, at least for me, it's more manageable when I can, you know, do something about it. When I acknowledge that, like, hey, when things go wrong, which they will, I have the power to make choices and to utilize my resources and make something out of it. So yeah, it works.
真っ暗になってしまうんじゃないかって。
その気持ち、ちょっぴり、レナもわかるよ。
Gotta nod gently.
私たちは、いいことばかりは続かないって、楽しいことの裏側を、時々恐れるよね。
Mm-hmm.
それってちょっぴり悲しいことだけど。
God, I think this is like, especially like, this is like everyday life, obviously, right? Like what's going on behind the fun. But think about something like, I don't know, I was listening to a story recently. I did some family history recently, like looking into genealogy and stuff. A family member of mine was able to find some really cool records of like my great-great-great-grandfather. And my great-grandfather, how he and all his brothers served in the war in World War II. So like World War II kicked off. They were American, obviously, and they all served. Every single one of them. It was a family of like brothers. I think it was 6 brothers, and all of them served in the war. And just like that realization, that fear, and that like kind of imagine living as a kid in that life. You know, like maybe it was your dad who went to war, or maybe it was your uncle or something. It's like, but you're still a little kid, right? So you're at home and you're doing your chores, you're taking care of the house as best you can, but you know, behind the scenes, even if you can't comprehend it, you knew that your dad or your uncles might never come back. That was real families. And like, I got to read those stories. And I was like, in times of war and conflict, this is like the definition of being a kid during times of conflict like that. I'm scared of what's going on behind the fun. A little sad.
でもそのおかげで、私たちは楽しい毎日がずっと続くように努力することを覚えたんだよ。
そうだな。
だから、ケイチくんが楽しい日々がいつまでも続かないかもしれないって思うのは、決して悪いことじゃないと思うよ。例えば、明日突然火山が大爆発して、私たちが全員死んじゃうとする。
That's a really grim future. I would have used an analogy like eating a chocolate bar. It's like, you get a chocolate bar and you take your first bite and it tastes great. But you also could realize that the chocolate bar will eventually be gone and you won't be able to enjoy it anymore. But if you focus on the negative feelings that someday that the thing that you're enjoying is gone, you're going to miss enjoying it while it's there.
おいおい、物騒な話だな。
例えば、その大災害をケイチくんだけが生き残ったとしたら、どう感じる？
どうって。
I imagine myself being a sole survivor in the ruins of Hinamizawa. Rubble and the bodies of friends lying in heaps at my feet. It was such an abhorrent sight. Was it sadder that all my friends had died? Or was it sadder that I couldn't have died with them? I didn't know which, but I'd probably cry a lot.
胸が張り裂けるだろうな。まず、泣くと思う。
そしてこう思うんじゃないかな。 こうなることが運命だったなら、昨日までの日をもっともっと楽しく、悔いなく過ごせばよかったって。
She's basically explaining in kind terms the concept of YOLO. You only live once. I didn't want to consider such a horrible event to be my destiny. But...
思うだろうな。
楽しい毎日がいつか終わるものなら、それがいつかなんて誰にもわからない。だったら、たとえ明日そうなっても悔いがないように、精一杯楽しく生きるのが正解じゃないのかな。
そうだな。
それに気づくのは、とても難しいこと。多くの人たちは、日々の幸せに飽食してるよ。今日と同じ明日が訪れると、信じきってるから。今日してやれる優しさを、明日に送ってしまう。
It's true. How often do we fall into this trap? I try to be a lot better about this and work towards goals, and a lot of it for me comes down to things like when I taught myself how to bake, or like having a garden. Like a garden takes like effort every day. In fact, I actually have a whole bunch of work I need to do to it. Like I've done the basics, but I really need to get in and just like wrestle with some of the vines that are creeping up the house and like kind of get things back in order before the fall sets in. So I got a lot of work I need to do on there, but that's like, don't leave the things to like don't leave things too long, because like those vines, you leave them alone too long and eventually it'll get so bad you won't be able to do anything about it, or it'll be too late. Rena was usually cheerful and silly, but right now she wasn't like that at all. She was taking my trouble seriously. It was a little reassuring.
でも、圭一くんはそれに気づけた。それはとても素敵なことだと思う。だからその不安な気持ち、大切にしてもいいと思うの。
この不安を大切に？
そう。明日には大災害でみんな死んじゃうかもしれない。
Yeah.
だから今日、みんなにいっぱい優しくしよう。本当に週末が訪れた時、後悔しないために。
レナは実践してるのか？明日みんなが死んじゃっても後悔しないようにさ。
うん。
It was such a hyperbolic conversation, but Rena just gave me a nonchalant nod over the head.
レナは楽しい毎日がたった一日を境に終わってしまうことを知ってるから。
Right.
今日が楽しくても明日も楽しい保証なんかないって知ってるから。生きてるよ、精一杯。
It seemed like Rena perfectly understood all my anxiety I couldn't put into words. And on top of that, like a reliable teacher, she showed me what to do. Oh. Hey, Keiji Marbara, there's no need to cry now.
ゆうべ、Satokoの夢を見た気がするんだ。どんな夢だったかは思い出せないけど、朝からずっと不安で。
さとこちゃんの元気な顔を見れたら安心するつもりだった。かな？
Yeah. She was right on the money. If everyone had been here with smiles on their faces this morning, then the murk in my heart would have definitely been blown to smithereens.
じゃあ、さとこちゃんが来たら優しくしてあげることだね。いつもの悪ふざけでも一向に構わない。楽しく過ごすことができるなら。
そうだな。
So that even if the fun days come to an end, I'd have no regrets. I couldn't tell what Rena told me was comforting or just made me more anxious. But it was enough to make me think that if I saw Satoko again, I'd be honest with her. Lunchtime arrived with everyone pushing their desks together like always. Satoko wasn't here. Despite that, we had bento boxes for 5 lined up on our desks. Rika-chan had made a bento for Satoko too.
さとこ、お昼までには来るはずだったの？
Oh my gosh, can we go look for her? Rika-chan was clearly acting strangely. We were talking to her, but it felt like she was too far away to hear us. I'd never seen Rika-chan so downcast. So the rest of us started feeling down too. Hey, Rena? I understood what she had said before pretty well. When we were together, we were supposed to have lots of fun so we wouldn't have any regrets till the world ended tomorrow. And yet, while I just resolved myself to do it, now we can't be together, what the heck? Because it was just so sudden, wasn't it? I mean, yesterday was so fun, so who could believe it would all end today? No volcano had erupted, no earthquakes or fires had happened either. Like cicadas were making the same noise they did yesterday, the sun remained bright in the sky. It was the same normal day as always. So then why? As I pondered, Rena's chopsticks reached the front of my face and stole the fried chicken out of my bento.
みんなが取らないからレナがもらうね。おいしい。
Hey, Rena tossed the entire piece into her mouth and began munching on it, her expression one of bliss.
おじさんとしたことがレナに先生を許すとはね。よっしゃ、おじさんはこのプチハンバーグをもらうよ。
みえ、僕のおかずがなくなってしまうのです。
Rika-chan, also behind the curve, smiled again and went for someone else's bento. As I sat there dazed how quickly everyone had changed, Rena sent a wink over to me. Come on, Keiichi-kun. Live life to the fullest. That way, if the volcano erupts tomorrow, it'll be okay.
冗談じゃねえ。最後の弁当が梅干しとご飯だけになってたまるか。それ、俺はミートボールをいただくぞ。
I stuffed the meatball into my mouth and constructed a clumsy smile. I played along as if trying to fool myself. But as I did, it rapidly became less and less of an act. Satoko still wasn't here, but at some point we'd regained our lively lunchtime. We had fun, we smiled, and we fooled around. Thanks, everyone. This was definitely the best thing to do. This way, when Satoko suddenly dropped by, we could welcome her with our best smiles. The more I smiled, the more I felt the anxiety from this morning clearing away. For now.
笑う角に福来たるってことわざあったよな。
あるね。それが事実なら、おじさんは四六時中笑い転げてるよ。
レナは本当だと思うな。毎日笑ってれば毎日が楽しいよ。レナがいいことを言いますです。
She does.
じゃあ、試してみるか。
Everyone took a deep breath and brought our faces together, locking shoulders. And then... First of all, that was horrifying, not happy. Second of all, it blew the audio, so I don't know how that sounded to you, but it was just red across the board over here. I saw it flashing, and I was like, oh crap, did I just lose it? No, it was so loud, it probably peaked and sounded terrible. So not only was it like creepy, but it also probably sounded like demonic for you. Everyone laughed uproariously from their stomachs, trying to laugh out all the bad stuff accumulating in them. By the time our bento boxes were empty, everyone was right as rain. For now. This is a great encapsulation. Like, look at the smiles. The smiles. Having heard our friendly banter, Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun walked up and timidly spoke to us.
前原さん、楽しくお話中、申し訳ないんですけど、ちょっとお力をお借りしたくて。
They grinned dryly and scratched their heads.
なんだよ一体。テストの対策法は以前教えただろ。ちなみに、千恵先生が授業中、と含み笑いを教科書で隠した時が次のテスト範囲だ。
I'm pretty sure that that's just printed with the censor bars, right? So you can't. It's not like they actually like some type of tape or adhesive.
そうなんですか?
That's not what we're here for. Tomita-kun elbowing Okumura-kun.
実はですね、ボールが2階の雨どいに引っかかっちゃったんですよ。前原さんなら身長高いからなんとかなるんじゃないかと思って。
ほう。先輩に物を頼むからには何か見返りがあるんだろうな。俺は高いぜ。簡単に買収できると思うなよ。
Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun conversed for a short time, then gave their reply.
では、前原さんには授業中に居眠りができる権利を与えましょう。それでどうです？
なんだそりゃ。授業中に寝るのは俺の勝手だろ。なんでお前らに権利をもらわなくちゃならんのだ。
そんなことないですよ。今度は前原さんが居眠りしたら全部先生に言いつけることにしますから。
Oh, so it's blackmail, not an offer.
なるほど、うまいうまい。
こいつらとんでもない交渉の仕方覚えやがって。
すみません。ちょっとした冗談っす。
ほらほらケイちゃん、おとなしく後輩たちの脅迫に屈したら
Threats. And now Meow was getting on my nerves. Suddenly it came to me, and I took Tomita-kun and Gokumura-kun's hands.
わかった。俺の降参だ。ボールを取ってやるから、居眠りの権利を俺にくれ。見ろミオン。俺はちゃんと権利をもらって、でもお前はもらってないよな。富田君、岡村君、ミオンが居眠りしたら、すぐにチクれ。いいな。
Gotcha. So now he's changed it from a threat to basically a bargaining chip as a weapon. Rena and Rika-chan began to cackle at Keiichi's victory, Kun's victory. I wasn't sure how the ball managed to get stuck up there, but it was planted firmly in the school building's second floor gutter.
その棒を貸せ。俺なら多分届く。よいしょっと。
I took the bamboo pole and poked the ball with it. Dang, it's hard. Come on.
あ、取れた。取れましたよ、前原さん。どうもありがとうございました。
The ball rolled out of the gutter and fell down behind the school building. My underclassmen ran over in that direction, leaving me by myself. Mission complete, I guess. Sheesh. There was still a lot of time left until the lunch break was over. Guess I should go back to the classroom. I'd absorbed myself in the silly conversation with everyone and await the afternoon classes. Just when I thought that, I turned toward the entrance. Someone suddenly called out to me. Oh no. Oh no. You never come with good news. It was a middle-aged man I didn't know. Or maybe I'd passed him a few times, I'd seen his face, but I didn't know him. When a half smile deepened, something within me shuddered with fear. There was no basis for that. No reason. But I shuddered. I was somewhat confused about these emotions, not quite understanding them myself. There was one thing I could say, though. Nobody but teachers and students should be at school. The first person shouldn't have been there. Felt less of a tremble, more of a sense of dread, like a caterpillar brilliantly colored in garish, billowy greens while crawling across my forehead. A feeling of disgust, neither itchy nor gross, could describe the frizzy, dreadful hair rubbing against my brow. I didn't even want to see his face. I wanted to jump backward and run away, an unpleasant feeling for which I didn't even know the cause. The other side of myself had nothing but questions. Hey, what are you doing? What are you disgusted by? This is the first time you've met him. It's rude to hate someone for no reason. No answers were coming. I held my silence, waiting, a damp sweat running down my forehead. When he saw that, Ooishi-san thought that maybe he was being intimidating and gave me a relaxed smile.
失礼しました。怪しいもんじゃないんですよ。私、沖宮警察署から参りました。大石と申します。あれ、手帳どこかな。あれ参ったな。ありゃ。
He fished through various pockets and finally found his police ID and showed it to me, grinning dryly. He may have been trying to use these clumsy-seeming actions to ease my anxiety, but I could definitely say it didn't work. Why was I this nervous? There was a reason, of course. If I wanted today to be the same as before, then today didn't need someone who hadn't been here back then. The fact that the man who wasn't here yesterday showed up today meant that today would be a different day than those before it. That would mark the end of the fun, happy days. I gulped and erased the ominous conclusion from my mind. Calm down, Keiichi Maribara. It's just an old guy who looks kind of perverted and came from the police department. Don't go deciding that the fun times are over. He just came here because of his job. Yeah, just for his job. He's working, and he normally would go to the teacher's lounge, right? The fact that he spoke to me, yeah, this must be what been to ask where it was.
職員室をお探しですか？なら、あそこの昇降口から入って。
I didn't wait to look for this man, want to look at this man for another second, so I started pushing things along. Ooishi, however, didn't seem to have any interest in the teacher's lounge.
いえ。職員室にはそんなに用事はないんです。それより、お友達を呼んでもらいたいんですが、お願いできますかね。
Why would you need me to call a friend?
お友達？誰です？
Satoko.
女の子です。北条聡子さんを呼んできてもらえませんか。
My consciousness grew faint, like I was about to pass out. Yes, my anxiety was realized. The dreadful, disgusting caterpillar was looking at me, about to crawl in my ear. Its frizzy, dreadful hair was touching my ear cavity. That's how bad it felt.
警察が聡子に何の用ですか？
いえいえいえ、大した用事じゃないんです。
Oh, sure.
兄さん、聞きたいことがありまして、ご協力をいただければ嬉しいんですがね。
Why? Why of all people was it Satoko? Why would a police officer come here in the middle of the day for something that wasn't important? The man was strange. I could smell it. And it smelled bad. Just a whiff of it made me want to grimace. I knew this man couldn't possibly be here to deliver his lost wallet or anything. Her lost wallet or anything. I couldn't imagine what he needed from Satoko, but it had to be something unpleasant. My throat stung with a burning pain. Burned like a parched, creviced wasteland. The wasteland broke apart deep in my throat and brought out the words from deep in my mind.
あんたに用はあっても聡子にはないと思います。
Interesting response, Keiichi.
帰ってくれませんか？
Oyashiro probably hadn't expected that reply. He stood there surprised for a few moments. I did as well. I hadn't thought words like that could ever come out of my mouth. Things might still work out. This guy might have showed up out of the blue, but I drove him off. Maybe I could make it so that it never happened. If I could do that, then I could get back. To the peace that we had until yesterday, I could get it back.
これは手厳しいな。あなた、聡子さんのマネージャーさんですかな？
Now, obviously, we know that Oishi's mostly on the right side of things, but in reality, this is actually a decent response. It's like, you don't understand what's going on, but a police officer is wanting to talk to you, asking you questions, and specifically asking about a friend. It's probably best to just be like, well, like, are you doing an official interview? And if they are, like, I need a lawyer. And if it's not an official interview, then I don't think I need to say anything to you, so I'm gonna go. And if they say, like, hey, you can't go anywhere, you'd be like, oh, so am I detained? And if they say yes, then you stop talking until you have a lawyer. If they say no, then you say, well, then you can't prevent me from leaving, and then you leave. It's not like you can't trust the police, but the problem is that the police will use tactics to try and get information, and a lot of those tactics are underhanded. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to protect yourself and make sure that everything is like above board. You shouldn't try to avoid talking to the police or avoid trying to like help them in an investigation. For one thing, that's illegal. For another, it's just a bad idea. But you are allowed protections and rights, and you also have no obligation to turn somebody over, especially if it's just based off of the predication that a police officer said, hey, we want to talk to this person. Now, if it was something we like, oh, we know Satoko broke the law, then that starts adding into the morality side of things, right? That's a bit of a different bridge. But for what we see, he's just asking really weird questions, and there's no reason why he can't call her. There's no reason why he can't go look at the house that she lives in if he has a legitimate reason. It's more like he's fishing for information. Again, we know Ooishi has decent intentions, but like, it's just a good rule of thumb for police in general.
アポイントメントがないと面会は叶いませんか？
話がしたいだけなら電話ですればいいじゃないですか。日中学校にまで押しかけてくるなんて明らかに異常です。
Breaking through the dam would have been a perfect analogy to use. Why didn't I like this man? The man shouldn't be here. I needed to make sure that this man wasn't here. Childish, selfish eruptions bubbled up from the depths of my mind, and they each came out of my mouth just as it had been formed. This is interesting. This is probably one of the most like conclusive like depictions of maybe the curse affecting Keiichi, if it is a curse. This idea that he has this instilled sudden fear and dread about an outsider that he shouldn't trust. Not liking this guy was my own problem, but to say things so bluntly to him, even though I thought I was crazy.
ありゃ、いちいち正論な方ですね。こういう言い方をする人は苦手なんだよな。
Ooishi grinned and scratched at his sweaty throat. Even as I feigned stupidity, I could tell he was irritated. Hey, Keiichi Maribara. Why am I looking for a fight with an old policeman here? It's not like he brought a gift of misfortune with him all wrapped up in paper, right? Right? It wasn't like he brought a package of misfortune with him and was asking me to sign here, please. Rationally speaking, I understood all that. So why was I so... Finally, I outlasted Ooishi in our game of silence, and he gave a big sigh. Then he addressed a few more female underclassmen running around nearby.
もしもし、君たち、ちょっといいですかな。北条聡子さんを呼んできてほしいんですがね。
Underclassmen tried to smile and reply, but they noticed the oddly stiff air and atmosphere around me and seemed to hesitate to give a quick answer.
いませんか、北条聡子さんは。
北条さんは今日はお休みですけど。
休み。
His face remained smiling, but his tone was clearly one of ill humor. Such conspicuous spite caused my underclassmen, who had answered honestly, to cringe in fear.
そうですか。いやはやいやはや。これはついてないです。
He was smiling broadly, but the way he laughed didn't make me feel better at all. When he noticed that his laughter wasn't getting anyone to laugh with him, he immediately stopped.
で、君たち、ここにいるお兄さんは、なんて名前か教えてくれますか？
He grabbed the girls by the shoulder so they wouldn't run away and crouched down to address them at eye level. Boy, he's being real aggressive here. The girls flinched away from his sharp, piercing light in his eyes. And in exchange for their release, they didn't resist and told him my name.
ほう、前原圭一さんですか。
He said my full name. That was all he said, and yet I couldn't help but shudder. It was like he grabbed me by the collar and just with those words.
ああ、あなたひょっとして例の前原屋敷の御曹司。
He's laughing without a smile now.
お父さん、高名な芸術家さんなんですってね。年に2回ほど東京の大展覧会に出展されてるそうじゃないですか。どんな立派な絵を描かれるかは存じませんがね。お母さんも知的そうな方じゃないですか。
How do you know so much about me already?
高学歴って聞きましたよ。どこぞの女子大を出られてるそうじゃないですか。あの年の女性で女子大でなんてすごいですよ。
Okay, you need to calm down, sir.
ひょっとしてお母さん、両家のお嬢さんなんじゃないですか？
Wait a minute. Our mom couldn't be a Sonozaki, could she? Because her last name would change when she got married. That would be really interesting if we were actually genuinely tied to the core family too.
なんて噂が立ってるせいか。冷たい人だなんて噂が立てられてるなんてご存知？
Who are you talking to about this?
町内会の会合、最初の1回以外は出てないでしょう。そういうのっていけないんですよね。
Why?
こういう土地ではご近所付き合いをないがしろになんかできませんよ。
A sense of eeriness slithered up my spine. This was my first experience of true terror. I couldn't believe I felt this terrible. If someone you just met to know everything about you already? Ooishi clamped on my shoulder and brought his eyes close to peer into mine.
こういう土地ではね、敵は作らない方が絶対にいいです。
Is Ooishi gonna be part of like the cult in this version?
さもないと。
Ow! Ooishi dug into my shoulder with inhuman strength. Gah!
思わぬところで不利益を受けるかもしれません。因果応報という言葉もありますよ。風が吹けば桶屋が儲かるの正反対です。妙なところで買った恨みが信じられないところで返ってくることがあるかもしれません。そうなったら嫌でしょう。誰だって恨みなんか買いたくないんです。敵を作らないに越したことなんかない。どうしました？肩がだいぶ凝ってますね。 ちょっと揉んであげましょうか。ほら、気持ちいいでしょ。
Ow, ow, ow! The man wasn't just strong. He was like, he knew exactly where to press to make me feel pain. That's actually a police technique. Only 4 or 5 fingers on my shoulder, and yet the pain made me want to bend over backward. A few of the girls in my class were pretty shaken up, but didn't seem to want to help me. They weren't sure if they should go call the teacher. As for me, I couldn't take the time to wait until the teacher got here. It hurts.
もうそれくらいになさってください。
Oh, thank you, creepy man.
痛がってますよ。
え？
Behind Ooishi-san, someone, to my disbelief, it was Coach.
おや、これは入江先生じゃありませんか。
Doctor?
ご無沙汰しておりますね。
Discomforted by Coach's sudden appearance, Ooishi laughed scornfully. The vice on my shoulder, however, remained as strong as ever.
挨拶はいいです。それよりも、前原くんを離してあげてください。
Ooishi smiled daringly and glared straight at Coach. He didn't release me in the meantime, of course.
先生のところにも後でお伺いしようと思っていたんですよ。いつもお忙しいとかで。
ええ、お望みとあれば、いくらでもお話を伺いますよ。でもその前に、令状をお持ちになってください。
That's the right response.
職務質問と任意同行は拒否できますからね。
Coach didn't display a shred of weird behavior he'd shown on the baseball game or barbecue. He stared steadily at Ooishi and fought so that he would release me. His chances were terribly bad, of course. Compared to the relaxed Ooishi, Coach seemed like he was being defeated mentally. It made sense. Coach had somewhat narrow stature, but Ooishi's body was packed with muscle. It wasn't even a contest. But Coach was fighting for me without taking a step back. Beads of sweat formed on his face, and though he paled, he was fighting for my sake. Suddenly, Ooishi laughed and let go of my shoulders. My body exhausted, I fell right onto my backside.
前原くん、大丈夫ですか？
くそ。いってててて。
I rubbed my shoulder where Ooishi had latched onto them. The pain from falling over went away quickly, but this pain was lingering.
大丈夫ですか？前原くん、ひどいことを。
くそ。いててて。
ちょっと肩を揉んだだけじゃないですか。
Yeah, you guy, I don't like you right now.
前原さんも少し大げさすぎですよ。男の子はもう少し我慢強くなくっちゃ。
I wanted to retort, but I couldn't think of anything witty.
肩は上がりますか？痛みますか？痛みが強いようなら、ちゃんと診察をした方がいい。とにかく保健室へ。
Coach lent me his shoulder and walked beside me.
大げさですね。私に限って傷が残るような真似をするわけがないじゃないですか。ねえ。私、これでも現職の警察官なんですよ。
Ishka.
さあ、どんなご用があったか存じませんが、もうご用がないならお帰りを。今日のことは、今度所長さんに直接抗議しますから。
それは困りますね。
Pulls out a gun. Bam! Takes him out. Ooishi-san waved his hand sarcastically, pivoting around, and headed to the car parked beside the school gates. And without turning back around, he got in and started the engine. Dang it. Who the heck was he? Darn it!
あいつは、大石クランドという刑事です。乱暴者でね、村中に嫌われている男です。前原さんも用心した方がいい。
Kurado Ooishi. Just like I thought, my gut instinct wasn't wrong. He would be the one to bring unhappiness, misfortune, and something that would ruin our peace. Shoot, I won't accept it. All the fun days can't possibly end just because some guy like him showed up. I won't accept it. Coach seemed to be familiar with the school, so he brought me to the nurse's office without much trouble. The girls from my class came along as well, looking worried. Our teacher and the principal, having noted the disturbance, came to see what was the matter.
前原くん、どうしたんですか？怪我でも。前原さん、さっき校庭で変なおじさんに。
Coach gently interrupted the girls trying to explain.
いえ、ちょっと転んでひねったみたいです。大丈夫だとは思いますけど、念のためと思いましてね。保健室をちょっとお借りいたします。
入江先生、よろしくお願いしますぞ。
The principal gave him a deep bow. It looked like Coach was acquainted with the adults at the school. He slid the doors open to the nurse's office, but there wasn't a nurse in there or anything. I figure. I'd never seen anyone but Chie-sensei and the principal working here. The coach didn't seem to mind the fact that there were no nurses and quickly made his way to the nurse's office. He instructed me to sit down and started washing his hands in the sink. Oh, I get it. He's the coach for the boys' baseball team. He must be pretty used to treating wounds with first aid.
ちょっと、患部を見せてもらえますか？まだ痛みます？
いえ、もう全然痛みません。本当に大丈夫です。
I rolled up my shirt and showed him my shoulder. No bruise, not even nail marks. And yet it hurt so much I thought my shoulders would be crushed. Even the pain had disappeared without a trace. It hurt so much, but not so much as a bruise remained.
それだけあいつが慣れているということですよ。
Used to it, huh?
今度会った時は挑発しないことです。あいつを怒らせて得をすることは何もありませんからね。自宅に制服警官を連れて押しかけてきたら、ご家族だっていい気持ちはしないでしょ。
それは確かに。
しかし、何があったんです？前原さんがあいつと喧嘩になるなんて。
あいつ、里子に用事があるとか言ってきて。
え？里子ちゃんにですか？
Coach's gaze lowered and his expression clouded a bit. Somehow that gesture seemed to be saying Ooishi was bound to come to Satoko and did, and that is no laughing matter. Coach fell silent in thought. Quietly, he took a compress out from the first aid kit and put it on me.
あの男はまだ里子ちゃんに付きまとうつもりなんでしょうか？
Clinging.
本当に蛇みたいにしつこい男です。
Coach mumbled to himself.
付きまとう？あの大石っていうやつ、たびたび里子のところへ来てるんですか？
Coach didn't answer, but the lack of denial served well enough. What on earth did the policeman, probably a detective or something, need from Satoko? What mistake had led a detective to cling to the sweetly smiling Satoko?
前原さんは、そうか、引っ越してきたばかりでしたね。
Yeah.
ええ、そうですけど。
Oyashiro様のたたりと、里子ちゃんの話は、少しは聞いたことがありますか？
Oh, please. Life would be better if we just didn't know. Well, I knew a few things about it, certainly.
里子の両親がダム計画の賛成派で、転落事故で死んだのはたたりだって話ですか？
Coach smiled thinly and dryly. So you know, he said, dropping his gaze. If I recalled correctly, there was an accident on a viewing platform at the public park she'd gone to with her family and her parents died. And then it was just big brother and little sister. And then she was with Rika-chan and,
ご両親が亡くなった里子ちゃんと、お兄さんのサトシ君は、おじ夫婦宅に身を寄せることになりました。
え、あ、そうなんですか。
Their parents died in the accident. Satoshi ran away, leaving Satoko to start living with Rika-chan. I'd known that much, but this is the first time I'd heard about being brought to their uncle and aunt.
おじというのは、里子ちゃんのお父さんの弟にあたる方なんですがね。残念なことに、夫婦揃って、ちょっと尊敬に値する方々ではありませんでした。
Coach normally picked his words politely, so when he came out and said they didn't deserve respect, it really made me wonder what kind of people they were.
里子ちゃんの両親がダムに賛成していたとばっちりで、おじ夫婦も村内ではとても肩身の狭い思いをしていましたからね。
So they might have resented it.
里子ちゃんたちを歓迎するはずもなかったんです。里子ちゃんたち兄弟にとってとても辛い生活だったと聞き及んでいます。
That sucks. Why blame children for the choices of the parents? Bit by bit, Coach told me about the numerous agonies the Hojo siblings had suffered at their uncle's house. Their guardians, their aunt and uncle, sucked up everything belonging to their immediate family. Satoko and Satoshi were cramped into a small room, and their lives were laden with things that were miserable both for body and mind. In the first place, since apparently their aunt and uncle weren't on good terms, there's no end to their fighting. And as if their revenge for that, whatever they saw Satoko and Satoshi's face, they would always find fault with them, scold them, yell at them, strike them, and take away meals as punishment. Can you imagine?
今思い出しても
That's so
ゾッと
gross.
します。
So gross.
今の元気なさとこちゃんしか知らないあなたには、土毛色の顔をして、ただ日陰でぼーっとしているだけの彼女など、
Dang.
想像もつかないでしょう。
I couldn't imagine it. I didn't want to. That's how I honestly felt. But at the very least, Satoko wasn't like that anymore. She may have had a miserable life in the past, but it was different now. Something happened to change that life.
去年の綿流しのお祭りの夜にね、おばが死んでしまったんです。異常者にバットか何かで殴り殺されて。
A baseball bat. Satoshi had the bat, right?
綿流しの祭りの夜には、村の旧敵がたたりで死ぬと噂されてましたからね。この死も単なる殺人事件としてだけでなく、お社様のたたりではないかと村中で囁かれました。
Right. A few days later, the deviant arrested for drug use confessed to further offenses and the incident was resolved. However, though it was resolved, no one knew whether the part about it being Oishi-sama's curse was true or not.
おじだってHinamizawaの人間ですからね。お社様のたたりを大層怖がり、逃げ出して雲隠れしてしまったそうです。聞いた話では、沖宮あたりの実婚の中の女性宅に転がり込んでるとか。
Alright, so he's just gone.
それで解放されたんですか、里子たちは。
おばは死に、おじは逃げ出し、誰も兄弟をいじめる者はいなくなるはずだったんですが、まるでその後を継ぐように、あの男が執拗に現れるようになったんです。
And Ooishi was he's desperately trying to solve the problems, like the murders here, right? The Watanagashi tied murders, but he saw them as an in, and he just started relentlessly harassing them.
あの男？
The coach lowered his voice a bit from being aware of it, as if being aware of his surroundings.
大石です。
大石、さっきの男。
The events that just occurred came back to me. The hard to describe ominous sensation I'd felt for him came back to me.
あいつは少しおかしいんですよ。お社様のたたりをめぐる一連の事件はみんな解決しているのに、あいつだけがそれを認めていないんです。
I don't know. Shion definitely thought there was something weird going on too. Accept it. The incidents were all solved and the detective supposedly with the police department didn't accept that.
あいつが近づく人間には必ず何かよからぬことが起こると言われています。
Right.
Hinamizawaではね、大石のことをお社様の。
Oh. In this world line, or this storyline, is Ooishi like the instrument of Oyashiro-sama's curse? The door flew open with a rattle and Mion came rushing in. Rena and Rika-chan came running in a few steps behind her, and then Tomotaku-kun, Okumura-kun, and a few other classmates.
ケイちゃん、大石にやられたの？怪我を？
落ち着いてミオンさん。怪我はありませんよ。念のため湿布をしているだけです。
ケイチくん、本当に大丈夫かな？みんなに聞いたら首を絞め上げられてたとか言ってて。
It was a bit overblown, but still.
落ち着けよレナ。肩をすげえ痛く握られただけだ。ほら、あざだってないだろ。
Aww.
たく、あんたら何やってんだよ。仲間だろ。なんでぼーっとしてたんだよ。なんでケイちゃんを助けなかったんだよ。
She's mad at the girls. Oh,
ごめん
then
なさい、委員長。
Mion yelled at her classmates, baring her fangs. Tomita-kun and the others hung their heads in silence.
よせよミオン。富田くんたちはその場にいなかったんだ。責めるのはよせ。
くしょー。大石のやつ。
She's like, curse you! Mion kicked the floor with her heel a few times, her temper running hot. Our teacher, overhearing the commotion, arrived as well.
こらこらこら。保健室で騒がしくしてはいけません。委員長、みんなを連れて保健室から出なさい。
ほらみんな、もう行こう。ケイチくんは大丈夫だって。ほら、みーちゃんも。
Mion was letting her emotions get the best of her, so Rena stepped in instead and led everyone out of the nurse's office. The detective from Okinomiya Station, Kurado Ooishi. It looked like the first impression I'd gotten from him hadn't been mistaken. Satoko's absence had amplified the vague apprehensions I'd felt since yesterday. If Oishi's appearance basically sealed the deal.
さて、じゃあ私はもともと千恵先生に用事があってきたんです。
Oh, really?
あ、用事があって学校に来たんですよね。俺なんかのために、どうもすみませんでした。
Don't be so humble, he said, smiling easily.
おかげで役得と言いますか。前原くんのきめ細やかなお肌も存分に堪能できましたよ。
There he goes again. I'm so nervous about what's going on. I'm chewing my lip, and then he's here making this kind of crap. No, don't channel Rena. With the unusual for Coach anyway, parting words, he instead continued.
では、失礼します。大した怪我ではありませんが、患部を揉んだりするようなことは、くれぐれも避けてください。もしも高熱が出たり、腫れたりするようなことがあったら、すぐに連絡してくださいね。
I'm guessing he actually works at the hospital.
そんなことはないと思いますが。
あ、そうだ、監督。さっき、みんなが来る直前、何か言ってましたよね。大石のことを、お社様のなんとかって。
As he was about to leave the nurse's office, Coach placed a hand on the door and stopped.
ああ、お社様の使いですよ。
Interesting. It's not what I would have expected based on the first two chapters.
もちろん悪口ですがね。
お社様の使い？
前原さんはhinamizawaで毎年watanagashiの夜に起こるhinamizawa村連続開始事件、通称お社様のたたりのことはご存知ですか？
連続開始？
Now that I thought about it, I did seem to remember overhearing Mion and someone in class talking about it like a ghost story. On the festival day in June, one person would always die, and another person would be spirited away, but they seem to call it demoning away here. What a fine story that was. I figured they made it up to scare me, but it was true?
一体どこの誰が言い出したのかも、いつの頃からか、大石のことをお社様の使いと呼ぶようになりました。
That is interesting, because I always thought they would call him the enemy, not his servant.
なぜですか？
あの男がその年のたたりの犠牲者を決めていると噂されているからです。
Huh. Wouldn't that be an actual twist of the whole series? What if he's actually been involved the entire time? Whenever June came around, Ooishi would start paying frequent visits to Hinamizawa.
亡くなったり消えたりする人たちの多くがあの男の執拗な訪問を受けているからです。
For years ago, it was known that the victim of the dismemberment rumor to be a sacrifice had been seeing Oishi's numerous times leading up to the incident. The sacrifices 3 years ago were Satoko's parents. Right before their accidental deaths, Ooishi had apparently visited their home. The one who disappeared 2 years ago is Rika-chan's mother. And again, people knew that before she vanished, Ooishi had been talking to her extremely frequently. The one who disappeared last year, Satoko's older brother, Satoshi. Satoshi too had apparently been approached by Ooishi many times before he vanished. And then this time Ooishi was trying to contact Satoko?
冗談じゃないです。
噂ですよ、前原さん。そういう噂があるというだけです。
So, the idea being he could be the servant, but if he's actually secretly in on it all, or more likely, anybody who's speaking to him frequently is targeted as an enemy because they think that they're betraying the rest of the town. You know, giving inside information. That would explain why we got targeted so heavily in the first chapter. And it doesn't really come up too much for the second chapter per se. Does it? Yeah, not so much. I hadn't said that because of the rumors of Ooishi being Oyashiro-sama's servant, or her contacting someone foreshadowing who would be the sacrifice this year. It was because the ominous hatred I felt toward Ooishi was becoming more substantiated, more real.
サトコ、今日、欠席したじゃないですか。
え？そうなんですか?
That looked like news to Coach. Had I thought he might have known where Satoko was absent today, but...
では失礼します。前原くんも早くみんなのところに行って安心させてあげるといいでしょう。
Yeah, sure. We'll totally be at ease.
そうですね。そうします。
Clatter. Coach left the nurse's office and headed toward the teacher's lounge. Oh, the audio's doing something weird where it's kind of fading between the two sides. Whew, boy. Alright. That's something else, huh? Oh, wow, that's the end. I didn't realize it was going to be the end of the chapter. Alright. Research notes and Oishi's post-mortem? Better left untold. Learn Satoko's secret. It wasn't really much of a secret, though. Alright, let's see what these tips are. Research notes. These research notes from the lady, right, from last chapter, the one, gosh, I cannot even remember her name, but she always dies after Watanagashi. The Hojo family. Every year, Oishi-sama's curse claims 2 victims. This means that with 4 years in a row, there have been 8 now, but it's worthwhile to note half of them have been members of this family. Note the curse of the second year, a certain falling accident involved the death of Hojo, a dam proponent, and the disappearance of his wife. She was pronounced dead the following year after being considered to have vanished under perilous circumstances. The curse of the 4th year involved the death of Hojo's sibling aunt, who was their foster mother, and the disappearance of the elder brother. The Hojo family is a poor one. It's hard to say Mr. Hojo's job went very well. Apparently, upon re-employment via family connections, there was a plan for them to return to their home of their mother's side of the family. For Mr. Hojo, the eviction due to the Hinamizawa Dam project and the payment of a large amount of compensation money was essentially a windfall. Mr. Hojo actively embraced the Ministry of Construction's negotiations from an early stage and was selected as representative of the dam proponents. It was rumored he'd been bought out by the Ministry of Construction for doing so, but the truth is unknown. However, the dam's proponents were in the vastly outnumbered minority. In addition, the Sonozaki family strengthened its own foundation and promised support against the dam. All of the proponents, save for Mr. Hojo, switched over to the anti-dam side. At this point, Hinamizawa was completely united against the dam, and Mr. Hojo was held up to ridicule as a stooge of the dam project's proponents. He was essentially used as a scapegoat for the anti-dam coalition. In the end, the dam project collapsed with Oishi-sama's curse and the dismemberment incident. However, punishment towards the bitter enemies supporting the dam project continues to this day. There are not many left today who supported the dam project, nor who would have a negative reputation at the time. If there were any candidates left for the curse, it's the husband of the housewife who was beaten to death last year, Teppei Hojo, and Mr. Hojo's daughter, Satoko Hojo. Strangely, these 2 are the only candidates left. Will this year's curse come down on the 2 of them? There is more than enough value in observing them both. Interesting. So they might rub out the whole bloodline. Alright, Oishi's post memo. To Ooishi-san. There was a call for you from Section Forest Chief Shigeharu. Apparently, the slaughtered corpse in the Ojikawa River is related to the S group as we thought. Oh. Sonozaki, not Sonozaki, the Sojo. The S group. Okay. We're still verifying what happened behind the scenes, but apparently the deceased filled up with dozens of self-created fictional bank accounts to their limits, with money from the S group reaching 100 million yen. It appears there were 3 or 4 men with the former S group connections involved in this. They've already disappeared along with millions of yen. The deceased was tortured to the point of information. She was clearly slaughtered as an example to the others. There are apparently some real wizards chasing down the people who disappeared. They are also spreading letters to relate Yakuza groups not to harbor them. There's still no evidence that Teppei Hojo is one of those people. As far as Chief Shigeharu can tell, he hasn't been told anything. He was her pimp, but she doesn't trust him at all, does she? Teppei Hojo has left the apartment in Okinomiya and has returned to his former residence in Hinamizawa. Oh. Interesting. All right, maybe I actually now that I've seen that, I don't think I've understood what that was referring to exactly. So Hyojo. So the S group is probably the like Sonozaki family, and they're like chasing down all the people and eliminating them and telling Yakuza not to work with them. So that does make sense. And then her uncle wasn't just like staying with a lady friend. He apparently was pimping her out and might be involved in some regard to what's happening. And apparently now is relocated to Hinamizawa. So if he's back, what does that mean? And maybe is that why Satoko is gone? Did he show up and take her away again? Maybe to like basically force her to live with him because he's family. That could be what happened. Ooh, that doesn't bode well at all. So yeah, let's see what happens next time. But that's the end for this chapter. I genuinely thought we were only halfway through the chapter, so that's really interesting. But yeah, I'm getting the feeling that this might be a bit more of a rescue mission attempt rather than simply like avoiding the curse. I wonder if we can, the idea will be to try and get to her before Watanagashi. See if we can stop things from playing out that way. But, we'll have to wait till next week. Thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate it. It's funny because, like, lately around my house, the cicadas have woken up. And while they sound different than these ones, the cicadas in my area are really, really loud right now. And it's like, it just makes me think of the game. I also keep finding their corpses, around because I crawl down from the trees to like shed or to die. And so we find them all over the place. That's probably not a thing to be excited about. I'm definitely not. Ugh. All right. But let's end things here. Thank you so much for your support, especially to the patrons and members. Your support is always welcome and wonderful. I don't deserve you, and I'm grateful for you. As we wind down towards the end of August, I should have a Patreon cast coming out very soon. I've also got another thing going on. If you don't know, I used to do some Cosmere-based stuff based on the books on Brandon Sanderson. I had them on this channel for a while, and they're still there technically, but I will be taking them down soon because I'm revitalizing my Cosmere-based second channel, Letters from the Cosmere. I haven't touched it in a while. I kind of burned out on it, got really sick. But now I kind of want to jump back into it and start posting on there again. So I'm going to be doing some of that too. That's just a personal project though. That's not going to take nearly as much time or dedication as this channel is. This channel is my baby. I love this so much. But I think it's fun to also kind of dabble into some of the other fandoms that I enjoy. So that'll be fun to do. I'll probably talk about that a little bit in the Patreon cast as well. But when all's said and done, I'm grateful to be here. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments, and I'm looking forward to continuing this series and seeing where this chapter ends. So, until the next video you're watching me, I happen to see me in next. I'll see you there.